I love
Isn't
that.
that cute?
It's very cute.
I know.
How's your love line? How are your
Unwell.
relationship? How are your relationship lines? How are they? They look good.
How's your one?
I know exactly. That's why I'm saying this.
Like,
Like you're throwing the shade, I'm also throwing it at myself. Like
chemistry is interesting.
You're listening to Enhance, the podcast dedicated to highlighting real stories told by real people.
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Gabby and Sam back at it again.
GNS
Episode 2. Episode 2.
of
Look
season
at
2.
that. Oh my God, that's crazy, bro. Welcome back, guys. Today we're, as you can see in our title, we're going to talk about boundaries, which is going to be very interesting. But, Sam, tell me something.
Huh?
Tell me how you got your hair done.
How I got my hair done?
Yeah, it looks
What
good.
do you mean?
Just looks good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Like, what made you want to do this color? Like, where'd you go? Tell me.
So I did my hair. I used to not get my hair dyed. I had like what they call virgin hair and my hair was really soft and healthy and I loved it and I was always afraid to put color on it or bleach on it. But I whenever earlier this year it was literally going up into New Year's. I decided that I wanted to do it and I felt like my original hair color washed out my skin a lot. And something that we actually just talked about a little bit in our Weird Wednesday episode that we just finished recording, was that I am not even spicy white. I'm just white. But I have this really nice like pink pigment in my skin that's like a very it's natural. It's like I literally do nothing to have the pink pigment. It's just there. And it's probably because my dad did have a lot of indigenous and my mom had a lot of Irish. And so I think those two things cross over for me just to have a pink pigment. And so my like original hair color though, it's very healthy like medium brown, but I felt like it washed out my skin a lot, and so it made it to where I had like no coloration in my skin. And I also get this thing, I don't know what it's called, a doctor told me that it's like an actual medical condition, but I just have always had it, and it's not something that's ever really, it used to bother me a lot when I was younger and I used to be kind of insecure about it, but now I'm not. But it's basically I'll get this rash right here on my cheeks from it's called like where your skin is both oily and dry at the same time, so it's like secreting too much oil but won't retain it. And so basically it just causes like this really bad skin irritation, and it would cause me to have like pink scarring on my
Oh,
cheeks.
wow.
And so as I've gotten older, I realized that it kind of created this like faux freckle look and kind of almost like a blush look, especially because I've grown out of it for the most part. And I found like a really good skin routine that like works for it. And so I just wanted hair that was going to bring out that color and that natural pink pigment and even that like kind of pink scarring, give that like faux freckle look. And so I was like, red, I feel like red will do it. And so I
Red.
did. And so I went to shout out to Tina at Supercuts in Mobile, Alabama, off of Old Shell Road.
Whoop, whoop.
She was the first person who did my hair that color, and I came in and I said, I want to look like a natural ginger with blonde highlights. And she heard me say, I want to look like a natural ginger with natural blonde highlights. And she like completed the mission. You know what I'm saying? Like she didn't just make it look like I was a natural ginger who went and got blonde highlights. She made it look like I had natural blonde highlights. Like I looked like a redhead. And that's what so many people said. They were like, wow, your hair looks like so good. And I mean, it looked
It looked
good.
good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so this hair was actually done by my friend Jessica at Enchanted Roots in Clanton, Alabama. Shout out to Jessica. And I just told her that I wanted to get like a fresh, like kind of vibrant red for Pride. And then she started telling me about some of the colors that she had left over, which was like blues and oranges and stuff like that. I was like, fuck it, let's do Phoenix hair, like Phoenix hair for Pride.
Yeah.
And I had a Pride event I was going to that weekend. And so she did it and she nailed it. And you can see like the full, like especially right after she did it, you can see the full process on my TikTok. But yeah, that's why I did my hair this way. And right now I got a little more pink pigment in my skin because I went to the Peach Jam in Clinton, Alabama yesterday. And I got a little sun.
I kind of love that for you. Yeah, I'm actually really excited. When we're filming this, obviously it's you guys are going to listen to it later, but is actually the date for my hair appointment. I'm very excited. I'm going to get a keratin treatment, which is a relaxing treatment that's not as invasive, but it pretty much just like helps like people with curly hair control frizz, kind of. You do lose a little bit of curl, but that's kind of what I'm going for. I'm kind of going for easy to straighten, easy to, kind of mold with. It makes it super soft. It's like a little bit of a conditioning in there as well, and a haircut. But I mean, I've had my hair multiple colors, which you can see on my Instagram. And shout out to Gloria, who does my hair. You can also find her stuff everywhere on my Insta too. But she does a fantastic job with my hair. I cannot ask for anything else. But hair is so important to me today.
Yes. Yes. Hair
yeah.
can make or break it for you.
It really does. It really does shape your kind of like your vibe that you're going for.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I love that. I love it.
And it's important to have hair stylists who are going to do what's good for you and know what's going to compliment you and isn't just going to like cut your hair how you say and make a good haircut that doesn't look good on you. And I luckily have two that it depends on where I'm at, if I'm at home in Clanton or if I'm in Mobile. But Tina at Supercut, she has been the hairstylist that I have used since I very first went and got my hair done when I was in college. And I've trusted her with my life ever since. So
literally.
And then Jessica used to do, because she was in the cosmetology program at the trade school whenever we were in high school. She used to do my hair whenever I was in high school, and phenomenal, great, amazing. So luckily I have found two great people that I can rely on depending on where I'm at in the state. So.
No, I just literally, it was to the point where when I would go to, Spring Hill and I'd come back from home, like to be home, I'd be like, all right, I know it's been a year and a half. Please help me. She's like, you got to come in more often. I'm like, I know, but like, it's cool. But now I go like every, 3 to 6 months, depending on like, if it's a hair treatment, if I'm coloring my hair, if I'm just cutting my hair. But she'll do my eyebrows, she'll do my lip, because sometimes your lip can be hairy. I get that.
Yeah, like mine. Like I have a terrible issue with my lip
yours
getting hairy.
Is cute, but like yours is cute. Mine is like stubbly and gross.
Oh my God. I actually, I was growing out my beard really long for a while, and it had gotten like pretty long, and I went to touch it up, and I didn't realize, because I hadn't touched it up in a while because I had been so busy, like home renovations, working, like doing all kinds of stuff like that. And so I went to touch it up for Pride weekend, or for the weekend that I was going down like to Mobile to do that Pride event. And I literally, because I hadn't done it in so long, I didn't realize that all of the guards on my trimmer were shorter than my hair length. And so I was just trying to trim it up, and I like cut a huge chunk.
God.
Like, yeah. I mean, you can see I have an okay beard, but it's still like, it was way shorter than I was expecting. I was like, well, guess I'm restarting here. So.
Well, you know what? It doesn't look bad. It looks good. I didn't even notice it until you said something.
Thank you, friend. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, was that your icebreaker?
No, it wasn't. I just wanted to get you talking. So pretty much my icebreaker is funnier than that. My icebreaker is what Shrek quote do you use the most often?
No, absolutely not. Gabby, you cannot do this to me. I
will.
We're about to lose followers. We're about to lose followers.
What? We love Shrek. Not Shrek is love, Shrek is life. That doesn't count.
I personally despise Shrek. Not Shrek as a being. I know, literally, we're about to lose followers. Not as an entity. I think Shrek is hilarious. I thought the first movie, great, phenomenal. Second movie, even amazing. Just as amazing as well. I don't like how hype Shrek has become.
Excuse you?
Oh, the puppies are playing in the other room. Anyways, the whole like the Shrek is love, Shrek is life makes me very uncomfortable.
No, that's uncomfortable. No, but I'm talking about the movies. I'm talking
about the Shrek babies are scary. I don't like them.
They're interesting.
I don't like them.
I can't disagree.
Yeah.
But like they're not
and
awful.
I just don't. And Shrek the musical, what the fuck? What are we doing?
Okay, no, Shrek the musical was so good. Like if you actually think about it, like in the sense of the message it's sending, it's really good.
I'm sorry. Shrek, it makes me uncomfortable. The whole thing.
Okay, well, what about SpongeBob? SpongeBob's overhyped too.
Oh, well, yeah, I agree 1,000%.
And you hate SpongeBob?
Yes, like I don't like SpongeBob.
Where
You know,
are you,
hold on.
Sam?
Let me
Sam.
backtrack. I actually just exited a very long period of hatred for SpongeBob. I did this thing whenever I was younger, and look, and the thing is that I'm not like shitting on anybody that likes them. I get it. I understand the vibes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Shrek is like fuck beauty standards. Like Fiona's like fuck traditional beauty standards. She's a bad bitch. Like I love Fiona, right?
Do you? Because it doesn't sound like it.
You know what, Gabby? You know what?
I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you.
Check it
I'm
out.
about to hang up. So rude. Oh,
Gabby, please don't do that. Don't do that. Don't break up the podcast. We're this early in our career. Anyways, so here's the thing. I don't know why, and you know, this might be a good time to tell the listeners what. Oh, what now? Now it seems like I'm trying to make people feel bad for me. I'm not. This just might be a good time to tell the listeners what I've got going on in the health world. There are a lot of things that I found out here recently that I might have autism, and it's undiagnosed, you know, from childhood, all throughout childhood, and things like that. And there are a lot of things that would happen throughout my childhood, and as I was growing up, that now that I found out that I might have autism, I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense. And I didn't realize then that, like, you know what I'm saying, that it was different or not, quote unquote, not normal. But and I have actually my appointment with my psychiatrist is not this coming Monday, but the next. So that's really cool. But there were these really weird, quirky like quirks that I would have whenever I was a kid, where I would love something, love it so much, right? And then all of a sudden, I'd be watching it, and it's like I'd go to sit down to watch it, and I would flip and hate it. And I would hate it so much to the point where I would cry if I had to watch it, or I would get uncomfortable at the thought of watching it. Barney was one of those for me. I loved Barney as a kid. I used to have one of the VHS tapes that was like the Barney like movie where like the it was that little rainbow alien thing. I don't, you know what I'm talking about? Like where it would like come to it came to like Earth or whatever, and they were trying to help it get back home or something like that. And I used to watch that all the time. And then one day I told my mom, I was like, I want to watch this. And she put it on for me, and I got about 5 minutes into it, and I just started like crying. And I was like, turn it off. Turn it off. I don't want to watch it anymore. And my mom was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I remember this very vividly. I was like 3 years old. And she was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I was like, I don't want to watch it anymore. I don't want to watch it anymore. That's happened to me ever since I was a kid. It doesn't really happen in adulthood now, but all throughout my childhood, there were different things that I would watch like that I would just flip all of a sudden and be like, nope, and be overstimulated by it. And I just wouldn't like it anymore. It's like I had watched it so much that I was, not that I had burnt myself out on it, but that I was now seeing it through a different lens, and it was overstimulating. Really weird. But Barney was one of those, SpongeBob was one of those, and Shrek was one of those. But then Shrek was during that time period where it came out when I was a kid, but then the hype happened when I was an adult. And I became really uncomfortable with it as a kid the same way, but I was also a teenage, like going into teenage years. So I was able to step away from it without the whole like emotional mental breakdown of it all. And so, but in adulthood is when Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life came out. And there were a bunch of other like movies that were coming out too with those babies, those scary ogre babies. And I just was like, you know what? It makes me uncomfy. So I think I blame it on that. But to answer your question, my
yeah.
my
what's something you quote a lot?
it's Sponge. No, I do have a Shrek quote that I quote a lot, and it's "That'll do, donkey. That'll do." So
yeah, that's true. I have heard you say that one multiple times. I was trying to
I also, sorry, because we love crystals. There are sometimes where I will go, that's a nice boulder. I like that boulder. That's a nice boulder. Like I do that a lot.
I say the boulder one, and I do say the oh my god, what is it? Now I'm totally blanking. It's when it's in the second movie when they're about to go visit the fairy godmother, and they're at the front, and they were like, you know, like we're HR or whatever, and they're like, they don't even have dental. So I say
Oh my god.
they don't have dental. I'm gonna take a look at this, you know, like where they run in the door. But that's the quote I say the most. But I'm so upset that you're not a fan anymore. It's kind of depressing. I went to the SpongeBob rave before you went to the SpongeBob rave.
Yeah.
And then I also went to a Shrek rave. And I just want everyone to know I was living my fantasy, because literally I was dressed as the fairy godmother, and they played holding out for a hero. And
Yeah.
bet your ass I was the only one dressed up as fairy godmother and ended up on stage.
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
And I
That's
sang the whole song with a
amazing.
wand and everything.
That's awesome. You make me
Mic
want to
drop.
cut out all of my like Shrek hate now. But I will say that I
Yeah.
did recently. Oh my god. Okay. I just recently, not recently. This was like last year around my birthday, rewatched Shrek the like first movie, and I didn't like cringe or anything like that. But I also watched it with someone who shout out to our friend breakup episodes last year. Someone who friend broke up with me shortly after that. So the friend that accused me of sleeping with her husband. Anyways, so yeah, but the I watched it then and I didn't have any trauma or anything like that. And I was like, oh, I see the appeal. Like it's enjoyable. It's cool.
I see the appeal. Okay, I'm gonna say right now, my favorite out of all of the Shrek everything is Shrek 2.
Shrek 2 is good. It's
I
simple.
will live and die with that movie. It is amazing. I don't give a shit what anyone says.
They introduced some really cool characters, I will say. And honestly, I get told that I look like human Shrek a lot. That's another thing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to do a side by side because like I don't know.
I get told that so this is what, and I get told I look like human Shrek. I've gotten told whenever my hair was the red with the blonde in it and everything, that Prince Charming, but obviously I don't like, he's nice and chiseled and I'm a hefty boy. But I like to think that maybe it's that I look like the love child of them, and then I just put on this whole like gay fantasy in my head between Prince Charming and Shrek. So then I'm like, you know what, I like it now.
You know what? I could see that though. Like you can't say that and then not be like, yeah. Say it with your chest. I say that a lot. That's something I say.
You got that from me. I used to say that all the time.
I don't know where exactly I got it from because it was like in spiels because I used to say it a lot in high school and then it like went away for a while.
I just knew that like when we started recording the first season of the podcast, I would say it with your chest and you'd be like, I love that. I love that you say that. And then you started saying it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like it went away for a minute and then you were like, say it with your chest. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden I picked it back up and I was like, where am I?
Yeah,
oh, that was really fast.
Yeah, I think I picked it up somewhere in college.
Say it with your chest.
Yeah, I don't know who I got it from. I think I just started saying it in college.
I mean, let's be honest. In college, you want to fight everyone. So.
Oh yeah, no, I do want to fight everyone.
I stand by that. And I stand by that.
Period. Oh, not sponsored. Don't look at my Mountain Dew.
I love how you said not sponsored, covered it, but then said what it was.
Yeah, no. Anyways, but look how cute these cans are. Mountain Dew, if you want to sponsor us. Oh, damn it! Like, okay, there we go. Spark. Mountain Dew Spark.
Anyway, okay. Yeah. So boundaries. Let's talk about it.
I do have the thing that we talked about that I want to talk about. So this is just a little to start off the boundaries episode. Something that is very important to me is about like helping, like being someone who lives in Alabama and that's more progressive and liberal. I care a lot about helping Alabama grow and helping Alabama move forward. And there are a lot of things that Alabama needs to leave behind, like a lot of states in the South. But the most and foremost thing that I am more passionate about is like being progressive, like being able to work with people that have different views from you for the greater good and for the public, right? And so this morning on TikTok, whenever I was just scrolling on TikTok before we started recording today, I came across, there's this channel that I follow. It's called Under the Desk News. They're very popular, or she's very popular. I'm pretty sure she uses she, her pronouns. So I don't want to, but so if not, I apologize. But she is very, very popular on TikTok. I mean, like I have her TikTok pulled up right now and she has 3 million followers. So I'm sure people have seen her before. But this morning she was talking about this situation that's happening in New Bern, Alabama. I've never been to New Bern, Alabama before, but it really it struck with me and it grinds my gears and it just it really bothers me. So basically I'm just going to say, and I'll try to put the link in the show notes so you guys can just click directly there. The names and things like that are things, like I said, I just watched it this morning. And so I don't know, I can't remember any of their names, but I'm just going to put the situation very plain and simple. New Bern, Alabama has a majority Black population. And they, the very first elected mayor of the town that was just elected 3 years ago is a Black man. And the thing is, though, that the prior mayor, which is weird because this was their very first actual election, but the prior mayor is refusing to give up the seat, and for the past 3 years has locked out the new mayor from the town hall. And so the reason why he is the original, like previously elected mayor, is because there was never an election. He just decided, like years ago, someone decided, I'm going to be the mayor of this town, and it's a white man, even though this is a majority black town, which means that you would think they would be represented by somebody who represents the general public. You know what I'm saying? Like the most like, highest need of that town. And so, but basically, his dad was the like previous mayor. His dad was the mayor and handed it down to him, and that's how the mayoral like position was handed down. Has been handed down for like however long they've had a mayor there. Yeah. And so they also have an entire council that was all handpicked by the mayor line and everything else. So you see the theme of people just getting to choose who does what without actually consulting the whole town. So this past time there was an actual election held. It was the very first election ever, and a black man won. And now he is not even able to fully like do his mayoral job and responsibilities because of this man who is refusing to give up the seat whenever the public has very clearly stated, I don't want you there. And so this man, the new mayor, is having to go to, he's having to like basically escalate it all the way up to filing like a civil claim against the previous mayor, but it's more than likely not going to be seen until like in court until 2024, and the state of Alabama is doing nothing about it. And so in Under the Desk News, in the video that they put up about it that I saw this morning, they have all kinds of information about who you can contact, where you can go, what you can do to help get awareness and attention to this. So if you hear this, if you have the time, I would really, really like it and appreciate it if you could go watch the video, like it, share it, save it, do all the things, and do what she says in the video to help this town have its justice and have that mayor where he belongs, which is ruling the town. Because that's what, I mean, it's just that Alabama has so much potential and so much beauty to it, but it's things like this that make me sad to be in a state like this and make me wish that I could just snap my fingers and make it all different, make it change. So yeah, so if you guys don't mind, I would really appreciate that. If you have the time and this is something that you're also passionate about, please just take the time and go do all that for me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And I mean, and that kind of starts us off on a different path of boundaries, because there's so many different types of boundaries, and that being a legal boundary, following the law, doing those type of things. Those are boundaries that we set up as a community, as a society, as a nation, that we should be following. And unfortunately, it's not being followed, and it's not being pursued in a correct way where it can be handled and people are calm about it. So I really do, I'm with Sam on that one. If you guys could please reach out, that'd be great. But that is legal boundaries. We do talk about that, but there's also personal boundaries, there's friendship boundaries, there's love relationship boundaries. There's so many different things. For me, I also have to set up boundaries with family, or like even with like work. You have to set up those boundaries. I know for me, one of my hardest boundaries, I'm a workaholic. I love to work. It's kind of bad. It's one of my favorite things to do because it keeps me busy. It keeps me feel like I'm doing something, but there is a boundary where I do need to also not work. And so putting in that boundary and being like, oh, I already worked 8 hours today. Like I did my thing. Like it's going to be there tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and especially, working a whole full-time job and then, helping with, our business with Enhance, you do have to have those boundaries so you can balance it out. Right. But also you need to be able to balance out, friend life, family life, boyfriend life, or girlfriend life, whatever that looks like for you.
Significant other.
Yeet skirt.
But yeah, exactly. And I think that like for on a sort of grand scale of things, if you look, we also have the similar thing with like I don't want to get too political, but also I did start it off kind of political. So like, but
sorry.
I mean, even looking at like the divide within our country, basically where like whenever Trump was voted out of office, he was like refusing really to leave the office, and also like condoned what happened with the riot on the Capitol and everything. And like it, like it, did I say that right? Riot on the Capitol? Or was it the White House?
No, it was
Is the White
Capitol.
House? It was the Capitol. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll cut that out. But anyways, so yeah, but like even with that, whenever we're looking at how people just aren't wanting to follow the rules, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, now of course, now I'm not a firm believer in that all rules are like, I think some rules are set up systemically to keep certain people where they're supposed to be, to oppress certain people. I was just talking about this the other day about how like back in 2019, I had a job where I was not making a lot of money a year. Like, and it was my first job out of college, and I could not find really anything else right at that moment because the jobs that I was looking for, the market was so dry. And there for EBT, which is like, you know, food stamps, like things like that. Like someone mentioned to me, like maybe you could see if you could, you know, qualify for that because I was paying student loans, and I was paying more money than what I was making, you know, and I was already working a job at a hospital because I mean it was going into COVID and everything where I was working like 12 hours, you know, shifts and things like that. So I was exhausted, and I had like my own health stuff that was going on, and so I couldn't really do another like get a second job or anything like that. And so when I went and looked, our the qualification for um for food stamps or for EBT, you had to make at like for me being single and everything, you had to make like under $10,000 a year.
What?
Who makes under $10,000 a year? Like who makes working full time under $10,000 a year?
Wow.
That like that you're literally saying I want people who are only people in extreme poverty can qualify for food stamps, and if they do anything to get themselves out of poverty, I take away their help. How do you think people get into poverty? And I know that's a very weird way to start talking about boundaries and things like that, but just opening it up in that way, like our country has set up like unrealistic boundaries and unfair boundaries for some people, but then the boundaries that like should be followed that are like, okay, well, you were voted out of office, so leave, people don't want to
Right.
follow, you know? And it's
Right.
like the whole point in us setting up, like the whole point in this country being made was to have a system where there were fair boundaries and fair like rules set up for this is such a weird way to go about this too. I did not expect to talk about boundaries in this way because I'm usually like I'm not traditionally I'm not a very like yeah politics let's talk about it person. I've like grown into that person because I know these things need to be talked about, and seeing that video today just really got me started on it where it's like we were literally supposed to be a country of boundaries. You know what I'm saying? We were set up to be and like we were supposed to be fair boundaries, you know, like
Right.
we were set up for religious freedom. We were set up for we don't have a monarchy that that is God and it deems everything true. We have boundaries between church and state. We have boundaries on specific people's healthcare to where they can make their own decisions. But we have people that are still wanting to just basically shit all over that. And it just blows my mind because I'm like, how can you say to be a patriot, to be American, and everything else in like traditional and stuff like that? And it's like, no, you're not. Like you are completely shitting on what this country was supposed to be founded on. And not even to like that goes without even touching on the shit that this country was literally founded on, which was the graves of indigenous people and on the backs of slaves. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like all of that's just yeah, the boundaries are fucked up. Like, and I hate to say
Well,
it
and
that way. Like,
I'll say this. I mean, whether it is a political boundary or not, I mean, some boundaries are meant to be broken because they're
yeah,
not sustainable. Um, but some are not. Some you just come on. Like out of respect for that person, like they
hmm
were voted in. Like, come on.
yeah,
Bye.
like be a
I
fucking
mean,
adult.
like just be responsible with people's boundaries. Well, and then personal boundaries. I mean, if you think about those, like on a, on a scale of, legal being a little bit bigger and then, ours personal being a little bit more individualistic and more simple in that way. I mean, like another boundary of mine is like, I am a planner. So because I have two jobs and then I help my family with stuff and then I have a boyfriend and I have friend priorities, like I need you to tell me ahead of time. I can be a last minute person, but I need to know what is going on during my day without just like, shooting blank bullets into the sky. Like I'm one of those people like I I need to be scheduled. Like if you want to FaceTime call me great. Like, I would love to do that. Can we do it for this day instead of this day because I'm busy? Like, give me that flexibility. But like, if you're just going to assume I'm always available, it's not going to work out for me,
Yeah.
you know?
I know that one thing whenever it comes to like those kind of boundaries, I used to have like really bad I had no boundaries whatsoever. And then when I started learning about boundaries, then it was like I went out of this world with boundaries. I was like, you get a boundary, you get a boundary, everybody gets a boundary, you know?
Right.
And so then I became really strict with boundaries. And something I had to learn is that like boundaries are a good thing to hold in here. You know what I'm saying? They're a good thing. Like when it comes to personal boundaries, at least for me, they're a good thing to keep with you. You know your boundaries. And if you have to verbally press a boundary, that's fine. Verbally press place a boundary. But if you like, sometimes there are things that just happen, and like things come up and you can't go, sorry, that's against my boundary. I mean, you can, but
I
like
mean, you
there
can,
are
yeah.
certain things that like, if it, like say that you've had a really bad day and you're just like, I'm tired and I need to rest. And then like your family member has to go to the emergency room and there's a potential that they're going to die. You can be like, sorry, I need to rest right now. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to like then act and everything else. And it's like, I've had to learn how to be very flexible and free flowing and leave room, like then set a new boundary that leaves room for things to happen. Especially like, as you know, with like starting a business and things like that. Like I know that we like keep in contact about a lot of stuff, but I grind like nonstop on the enhanced production side. Like I'm constantly doing
Yeah.
networking things and like social media planning, like trying to produce the short film and everything. And like it's exhausting, but I have to constantly, if I want this to succeed and want us to continue to succeed in that way, I have to leave room for things to come up, and it is exhausting and it's tiring, but it's also like the long game, like allowing my boundaries to be a little more fluid now, because in the future I'll be able to set more strict boundaries. You know what I'm saying? And like,
Right.
of course, that comes with like still taking time to rest, still taking, like yesterday, I hardly did anything for work, and I just went to the Peach Jam and like went out and had a good time and everything. And I talk for anybody that's like, what is Peach Jam? You can go look at my Instagram post. You can also go look, whenever we post our Weird Wednesday, I talked a lot about it on there because we recorded it before this. But Peach Jam is this event that happens in Clanton, in Chilton County, every year, and this year just like blew me away. And I haven't been able to go in a while, and it was just phenomenal. And I knew that I wanted to be able to go take time to be there. And I still did some things for work. I like networked with a lot of small business owners and things like that to see if any of them might be interested in working with Enhance and stuff, and like hiring us to do their social media and stuff like that. But for the most part, I went and I enjoyed my day. Like I went and saw the vendors and ate the food and drank peach lemonade, homemade peach lemonade, like
That's
amazing.
really cool.
And like I said in the Weird Wednesday, peaches are like Clanton's thing. Like we have a huge or Chilton County's thing. We have a huge peach market here, and you can go all over the state and see like Chilton County peaches advertised and stuff like that. And so I just went and had a really good time. And then I came back home and went and got some groceries and things like that, and came back for a little while and cleaned up here and took care of animals. And then I went back for another like hour or so just to sit and listen to the music that they had live music playing. And it was great, like, and I took that day for that. And then all day today I'm doing things for work, like,
Yeah.
but setting up that like boundary of like also, or like allowing your boundaries to be more fluid so that you can sort of listen to what are you needing in that moment, like,
Well, and I think that's all based on like your priorities. Like,
yeah,
I can, I could say all I want, I'm my own priority. I know my priority is work. I know that my main priority is making sure that I get things done, that I am responsible, that I'm a planner, that things go smoothly. If things can move around, obviously there's flexibility, and that comes in with the boundaries. Like, is this a hard boundary? Is this a loose boundary? Like, what type of boundary is it? But like, I know for me, like example, like I had a huge busy weekend, and I felt bad. I didn't get to really spend time with my family. I really didn't get to spend time with my boyfriend, and I felt bad. I felt guilty that I couldn't spend time with them, but I got to get stuff done. And I know that they're understanding and that they will still be there for me, regardless if I'm having to, hey, like, I know this weekend is super crazy, but like, please let me do this. Can we do dinner instead? Like, work around those things. And usually people are pretty receptive to boundaries. Obviously, there's the ones that like to not listen to boundaries, but like I think, between me and Sam, like I think we have good boundaries. Like if I go, hey Sam, like could we record Saturday instead of Sunday? And he's like, no, I got something I have to do. Like I can't. And I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. I'll move things around. No big deal. And we work it out. Same with all of the other hosts that I've had on here. We do take the time to really plan and make sure that we can produce this really good episode and really, meaningful episode. And it comes with, hey, boundaries, schedules, priorities. It's all conducive to like one thought, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's part of it too, is just like one, having clear communication as well. And like I said, being flexible. And like, I know we just recently had a situation where you were like, hey, could we record on Saturday instead? And I was like, so sorry, like I have the Peach Jam, which is what I've been like keeping that day blocked off for. But one of these episodes don't have to be recorded right away. We can move it to a different weekend, and I think just leaving the flexibility open. And like literally another host that is going to be on, I'm recording with her, I think next weekend. She she got hit by the storms that have been like running rampant
Right.
through like the like south and over into like the southeast. And like, have you been affected by them any?
Yes and no. I mean, we've gotten some really, really heavy rain and really gusty winds, but other than that, nothing too insane. Like
Yeah. Well,
no
she lost.
NATOs.
Oh, well, thank God. So, she lost power, um,
Ooh,
like for days, and like she wasn't able to record, obviously. And so I was immediately like, yeah, I'm so sorry. Let's move it to this again, like do this, blah, 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 like, and we were able to change it around, and just leaving that flexibility for when things go wrong. And I know there's been plenty of times in the past where like you and I didn't leave room in our own space for like things to go wrong, and
yeah.
something went wrong in Enhance, and then we ended up having to figure out what to do. Like we have an episode that still needs to be re-edited because we didn't even think about like what would happen, like, and it's an episode that literally nobody's fault. It literally just audio corrupted and nobody realized it,
Yeah.
and so like the audio sounds janky and it has to be re-recorded, but we didn't leave space for that to happen. Like we didn't leave a boundary or space for things to go wrong. And so now here we are almost a year later, and that episode still needs to be recorded and reposted, and it's because we're so busy with what's going on in the present, and we can leave space for things to happen in the present, but it's hard to backtrack whenever things go wrong. And then there's no real system to, okay, well, who does re-editing? Who does this? What happens here? What happens there? And then it just sort of falls on like whoever or whatever will do it or take it at that time,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, with work, it's like one thing. And then, you got family boundaries and you got friend boundaries. Like, you know, like I know this might be sounding weird when I say it, but like bear with me. So like my friends, they love to kiss each other. I'm not like it, and it's
Do they
endearing for them.
really?
Yeah, whether it's on the cheek, on the
Oh,
lips, like on the
okay.
forehead, all of
I
it,
don't know.
all of it.
I imagined you like just like your friends full on making out with each other. Like that's what I was imagining. Really?
Sometimes, I mean, and it's like their thing, whatever. But like, they know it makes me uncomfortable. They do not come for me. Like, it's like one of those things. But that's their thing. Like, and that's okay. And it's fun for them. And that's how they show love. That's how they show this endearing, like, love. For me, don't touch me, don't look at me, don't smell me, like nothing. Don't even look in my direction, please. Like, it'll just make me uncomfortable.
It makes me think of this time that it was a New Year's years ago. I want to say it was like the New Year's going into COVID, so like 2019 into 2020. And I was single, and it was going into New Year's, and I had this friend of mine that I won't say any names or anything like that, but and he's a gay man too, and we like completely 1000% platonic, like
Right.
never have had any romantic feelings for each other. We're both more a little effeminate, him more so than me, but also we're just not each other's type either,
Yeah.
and it's just like we're not whatsoever. And so on New Year's, like if like, which now I don't really anymore, but whenever I was younger, especially like in college or like exiting college and stuff like that, if you didn't have anybody kiss, you would just find a friend to like give a peck on the cheek or a peck on the lips and be like, Happy New Year's, like
Right,
whatever.
right. Yeah,
And
whatever.
so like, yeah. And so I was just like, oh hey, at New Year, like whenever New Year strikes, do you want to kiss each other? Like, and I guess like same thing just happened where you were like, they like to kiss each other. He thought I meant like full on make out, and I was like, no, just like a peck on the cheek or a peck on the lips. And he had this like almost visceral reaction, like this like I
Me.
was
That's
so
me.
embarrassed. I
That's
was like,
me.
oh my god, and he didn't realize like, oh, like you're not hitting on, because we had just met each other like that June because we were working on a movie together. And then it was that, December into January is whenever we were there. And we didn't know each other's boundaries. We didn't understand each other. There was no like clear communication. I just, something that was so simple to me because like, in college, we just made out with each other all the time. Not me and you, but like people, like friends. I've made out with so many of my friends from college. There were times where we literally, like one night, yeah. Oh God, I don't know if I want to out myself like this. Definitely am grateful I did not get
Is
mono,
this a
but
boundary that you're trying to place that you don't want to say the story?
no, it's okay. I'm fine with it.
Okay. I just
I'm an
wanted to
open
make
book.
sure. I
Thank
just
you,
wanted to
though.
make sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you. But I made out with like 14 people in one night, one time. Yeah.
Wow.
I was just at a party and we were bouncing around to different parties and we were all just making out and like I literally, oh my God. This was the same. So I guess this might be a good time to talk about boundaries, self boundaries when you're out partying, because know your alcohol, know how you
Yes.
react to specific types of alcohol,
Yes.
and know how much alcohol you should drink realistically.
Correct.
And know whether
How
or
many?
not you should be
How many
drinking
are
at all.
you? How many? How
Me?
many cups? Yes. What are we thinking?
Now I am different. Now that I'm older, my tolerance has went down a good bit. Usually at about 4 drinks, I'm good. But it
Yeah.
also like it changes depending on the night. It depends on what I'm wanting to do. Like whenever I went out to that Pride event and did the SpongeBob rave and everything else, if you want to see that, you can see it on my TikTok. I drank a lot that night. I drank quite a bit. And you know
I think
what?
my favorite memory of you is Halloween when you were Winnie the Pooh with the damn bucket of alcohol. And I swear to God, Sam, what were you doing? It was such a good idea though. You were like, I'm so
Thank
proud
you.
of it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, you're so
Yeah.
cute.
So for anybody, you can also see it on my Instagram, but also look at my little back scratcher pin. You see it?
So cute.
Anyways, I have never actually scratched my back with it. I've always just like kind of played with it. And I didn't even realize it extended until just now because I'm ADHD as hell and have things that I need to like fidget with when I talk. But so for anybody who doesn't know what she's talking about, it's on my Instagram too. But it was back from like, oh God, what it would have been like 2018, I think, Halloween of 2018. Yeah.
Was
So
it
it's back
really
there.
that long ago? Don't
Oh
say
yeah.
that to me.
It was a while back, but I went as
What
Winnie
year
Pooh.
is it?
I know. I went as Winnie the Pooh for Halloween to this big event that we had in college, and I took a daiquiri mix bucket, which comes
Correct.
with, it's a bucket about this big. For anybody that is not like watching, I would say it's probably about a gallon, and it has a nozzle on it where you can pour a drink, and it's meant for parties where you go get it, and it's a daiquiri mix, and you take a handle of alcohol, put it in there, and it's like a little, people take cups and pour and drink a cup. And I walked around with that as my drink for the night. And
It was so good.
yeah, and I drank about 3/4 of it by myself. I shared with other people, which is another night I probably should have gotten mono, but I literally would hold it up, and I'd be like, what I did is I took a cardboard and put it around it and then drew honeycomb on it and wrote honey and really cute cursive letters on it.
It was
And
so cute.
and I was like, would you like some honey? And like, I gave it to people.
It was so cute.
Anyways,
It was such a move. Oh my gosh, it was such a move.
Was it a good boundary to set for yourself? No, it was not.
No.
I am not an alcoholic, which is exactly something an alcoholic would say. But I don't drink a lot. I, like, genuinely do not drink a lot. But whenever I drink, I drink. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't just go out for like a couple of drinks. Like,
no, with alcohol, I feel like I'm pretty like, ooh, my earbud just like started vibrating.
oh,
Yeah,
didn't
it
know
was
what to
kind of
do.
weird. Yeah. Me either. Anyway, no, so with alcohol, it's a little bit like different for me. Like in college, definitely no boundaries. But literally when I got back, I very much like was okay with sipping a glass of wine, and that was it.
I hear
Like
you.
it was very like I did a very like 180 with alcohol and
Yeah.
just like anything, just because like now, like my friends, they're amazing. I love them. They are partiers though. They'll
Yeah.
go off. They'll do 5 shots. I will take 1 out of the 5. Like I very much, I'm like the like I'm the mother of my group. Like, and we
Respectful.
take turns, but of my friend group in Mobile, I have my friend group in St. Louis, I have my friend group anywhere and anyhow, I've always been mother, and I'm okay with that.
Mother.
And I'm okay with that. And that means with my alcohol, I'm very, I'm very relaxed. Like I maybe have 1 drink, maybe 2. Like, and I'm okay with that. Now, yeet skirt to a wedding that's an open bar that I don't have to pay for anything.
Yes.
Let me just say this. I cut the line 3 times to get back to back to back drinks. And every time I go to a wedding, I make the bartender my best friend every single time.
Good.
And my friends are like, "You're cutting in line." I'm like, "I don't care. There's two bartenders. One of them is doing the line, the other one is doing nothing. I'm going to them." And then they're
Yeah.
like, "Okay." So then they'll come in line with me, and I'm like, "See, I told you. Look, you got drinks in your hand."
Yeah. See,
Hmm.
I went to a wedding back in March. It was like my birthday weekend, so I was going out for my birthday and going out for the
Cute.
wedding. And one of my favorite people in the whole world, and they had an open bar.
Mm,
Yeah, baby. I started off my night with the open bar. You know what I'm
correct.
saying? But anyways,
Correct.
so to go back to what I was saying though, with alcohol though, I with the whole like making out with like 14 people in one night, boundaries. You should set them. You should know
100%.
you need to
Yep.
set boundaries with alcohol. I had a lot of fun in college and things like that. I was also very responsible, believe it or not. The reason why I let myself go that hard that night is because I wasn't driving. I was on campus. And
Right.
anytime I go downtown or go out or anything like that, I'm making sure I'm not driving. Like there's a DD or I'm Ubering, and if it's something that like I know that I want to go hard, I want to go all out, like I'm not gonna, like I'm not gonna like I'm just not gonna even take my car. Like I'm gonna Uber, And so yeah, but I remember that night there was a lot that was happening, and I don't regret. I mean, I just had fun in college. I don't regret having fun, but
No.
there
Yeah.
are times where when I say know your alcohol, know what your alcohol does to you. Alcohol, different types of alcohol can affect your personality different types of ways. And it was a joke whenever I was in college because I had like multiple personalities that would come out depending on alcohol. We also have friends that yeah
Me
me too.
too. Me
We had a
too.
friend that Lucifer was one of her personalities. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I do. That
Yes.
was
Oh
that
my
was the
gosh.
end of like a that was like the end of like a 5-name cycle
Hmm.
list. Like
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, Lucifer. And we were just like done with it. Like that
Yeah.
was it.
And Gabby, I
Um,
don't know if you remember or not, but I had several, and they all
yeah,
acted different depending on what I drank and how I drank it.
correct.
And that's
Correct.
something very important to know too, is like, what are your boundaries with alcohol? What can you drink? What can you not drink? What can you, like, you have to be safe. You have to be enjoyable. Do not be a toxic drunk. Like, if you're going to go out
No,
and drink,
it's not fun.
do not be a toxic drunk. Do not be an unsafe drunk. Don't be one of those drunks that goes out and like does crazy, off the wall, like dangerous stuff. Do not get behind the wheel of a
Please
car.
don't. Please don't.
Yeah. So just, yeah. But, I will say that like that is something that night I unlocked a new. I used to call them my goblins because
You did.
there was this comedian that I liked a lot that she had the party goblin. Now I don't really like her because she said the N word in one of her shows, and she's white, so but anyways, but then before I realized that she had done that, I had my different goblins, and so my party goblin was the goblin you wanted there, the goblin that was like fun and chill and like there to have a good time. But I had so many different ones. I had the mom gob that was just the mom goblin, like she was the one who was taking care of people. I had
Right.
the gobdashian, she was wine drunk Sam.
Mm,
She was the one, she was there to be messy, and she was,
always. Always.
yeah, and she was there to be the center of attention, the boss of the show. I had the manic goblin. That was the one that was just like everywhere. Yeah, like
Yes.
yep, like just like literally treating everything like it was not a big deal. I literally walked up to someone who had beef with me at one point and was like, "We're fine, right? We're good. We're fine. We're fine." Like literally recanted everything. It was like it's not that big of a deal, and they were like, "I guess not." And I was like, "Cool." bye. And then ran off.
Bye.
And then I was like very brutally honest as that goblin, very chaotic. But that goblin, I forget what the one that came out that night that I made out with 14 people, but I forget what that one's name was. But anyways, it's fine.
Mine
Know
was-
your
Oh no, I was about to say mine. I only have one. It's Genevieve. We love Genevieve. She's a mess. She is a hot mess.
Genevieve.
She can go a lot of different ways, but it's always been Genevieve. I will say she's a fun one though,
Yeah, that's
because
good.
she doesn't stop talking. Just
So
like,
you have
"Shut
like
up,
Mom,
man."
Gabby, and then you have Genevieve.
I have Mom and then Genevieve, but
Does
literally
Gabby ever
Genevieve.
stay for the show?
I mean, yeah, sometimes. Well, it depends. It depends. It depends how serious the situation is. Like I know for me, like usually the situation's not that serious, but I mean, I also have a very outgoing personality where it's like I am drunk already just without the alcohol,
Mood.
because
Yeah.
I can talk to literally anything, and I have so many. And my friend Natalie, who she's been on an episode before, we have a lot of the same, like how we say things, how we breathe, how we make a joke, like we form them in the same way, and we have a lot of the same sense of humor, and that sells really well with us. Like we really we're just funny people, and as she would say, and humble. And she does it every time. It's like her
And
ongoing joke.
humble.
She'll go, I'll say stuff like, "Oh, I'm so funny, I should be a comedian," and then she'll look at me and say, "And humble."
Yeah.
Like it's a running joke for us. So like,
I love that.
yeah. So like, I don't need to get drunk. I don't need to be Mom or Genevieve or whatever. I know that for me and my boundaries, like I just can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
By myself. I don't necessarily feel the need. I know some people do for liquid courage. I'm not one of those girlies. I'll go talk to a wall. Like I don't care.
See, I sometimes I do it for the liquid courage. To be completely honest with you, one of the main reasons why I drink whenever I go out, is so I can dance without being tired, so that I won't feel my body getting exhausted on me, because I just love to dance. So if I get drunk and am numb all over, I won't feel my body getting exhausted from me dancing.
Actually, that was someone told me something last night that I thought was funny that relates to this. We were on the dance floor and I was like, there's sweat in my eye. There's makeup in my eye. I don't know what I was like complaining about. And she looked at me and she said, I heard that alcohol makes that go away.
That's
and I looked at the cup and I said, "Cheers," and I just downed it. I mean, it was just a funny thing, but like safe environment. Like we had people that were going to drive us home. Like we had a plan. Like it ended up that, me and the people that I went with were like, we were fine. Like we really, didn't drink to the point that we were like super unwell, but it's because we know our boundaries, like I know I'm not going to go overboard. Like it's just how it is.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's very important too. And I feel like that goes for really anything. Like anytime you're doing anything, like know your social boundaries, know how long you're comfortable being out and about and doing things.
If you don't want to be there, don't be there.
Exactly. Like don't. Now, I think that there is some respect on, like, say that you made plans with someone 2 weeks ago and you made these concrete plans and then the plans come up to date. If you're like, I don't feel like going, I feel like that's not cool. You have every right to do that. And if you do that, that's cool. Just be ready for people to not make plans with you anymore. I have plenty of people that I just stopped making plans with because they would do that.
I mean, boundaries have, a positive and negative outcome depending on what you're doing. And if you're changing those boundaries or those plans or priorities, like there's a yin and yang to every situation. And so you just have to be prepared to deal with both ends and, be your best self, but also don't screw people over, because that's not fun either.
So then, Gabby, like, to pose this question, what do you do whenever your boundary conflicts with someone else's boundary that they have in their life?
Yeah, and I think it's all dependent on the situation and the person and what you want to, like, how you want to do things in your life. Like the example that comes to mind is, for me, I don't like to be cornered. I don't like to feel cornered. I understand there's drama. I understand that I'm in the middle of a lot of different friend groups. Being cornered is very, very uncomfortable to me, and it makes me not want to be there. and I know we talked about it in our friend breakup episode, but that was a big boundary for me that was crossed. And when I brought it up to their attention and they were like, well, you just don't care about us. I was like, oh, that's an interesting thought that you think I don't care about you.
That's an interesting take. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I always offer like a break, especially if it's really conflicting.
Hmm.
I'm always like, hey, let's just take a break. Like, let's just not talk for a few days. Like
Yeah.
maybe a week, 2 weeks. Like,
Get
let's
some
not talk.
space.
Let's like really just calm down from the situation. And if we still come back and we're still at each other's throats, like obviously that shows that it's like a toxic thing for me. Like I can't do
Hmm.
it. So if I have to leave that situation, sure. But if it's a situation where, we're just like calmly talking and we're calmly disagreeing, I'm just going to sit there and be like, look, like, like I love you as a person. I respect you as a person, but we're just going to have to agree to disagree on this. Like,
Yeah.
if you still want to be my friend, if you still want to be my family member, if you still want to be my boyfriend, whatever it is, that's something that we're just going to have to agree to disagree on. And if you're willing to work on that with me and so we can reflect with each other, I'm down for that. But it's all the conversation, it's all the communication that it comes down to. And, again, depending on the situation, if it's not good for you, you need to realize that and put that new boundary up like, hey, then we can't participate in this friendship anymore or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I will say that I've learned to do it really well with friends more than family and like other people. Like work, I'm pretty good on boundaries. I've done really well on those. I've been working my entire life. So, but like friendship ones, I definitely struggled with a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. But
Definitely.
yeah, what about you? That's interesting.
I think that I think it depends on the situation. I think that you should approach it with different things. So like for me, I have different levels to my boundaries. So like sometimes I've got like a concrete boundary where it's like, you don't do this. We do
Right.
not do this. This is something that's concrete for me. Sorry, I cannot approach it. Right. But then there are other ones where I'm like, this is my boundary, but I'm also human and understand things happen, you know? So I think that it depends on what kind of boundary we're approaching, but also staying consistent on your boundaries too. So like if someone is like, hey, I know you set this boundary, but this and this is happening and I want to know, can we revisit this? If it's a boundary that you're comfortable revisiting, revisit it, but own the revisiting. You know what I'm saying? Like, be like, okay, yeah, I did set this
Right.
boundary, but I'm comfortable talking about this again and seeing if we can come to a different understanding. Or if that's a boundary you're okay with negotiating on at one point, then you need to constantly reference that you were okay with negotiating on it at one point. Because if you're not later on, that's totally fine. But other people have other perspectives as well. Like I
Yeah.
would like to think that I'm like a boundary setting king. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I just bumped my computer. But I would like to think that I'm a boundary setting king. Like I set boundaries all the time. Like I have tons of boundaries, but I also allow those boundaries, like I said, to be free flowing in certain instances. So, like if somebody comes to me and wants to revisit a boundary and it's something that I was previously okay with revisiting, if I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable revisiting that, that's going to be kind of jarring to them, And I'm the kind of person that I like to do things in a productive way always, and I always try to think of and like in a fruitful way. And I try to think, if I tell them no, this boundary is not going to be moved around and things like that right now, how productive is that going to be? Also, why am I not okay with moving this boundary right
Right.
now if I was before? Like, what reasoning do I have to stand on this boundary? Does that make sense? And like just
Yeah.
constantly like reflecting with myself and like looking at like just constantly looking within and thinking, why do I have this boundary? Why is this important to me? You know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the more you reflect on your boundaries, like you can create some good concrete ones. But I also think there's a lot of ways you can learn about boundaries, within like relationships and how you interact with people. Because I know, like for me, like I didn't know anything about boys really until like end of high school, like college, really. But there was no like real boundary per se until I got into a relationship and I saw what I liked and I saw what I didn't like. And I explored that realm, and then I made the boundaries because then I had something to go off of. So, don't ever, be, hurtful to yourself in any type of way just because you don't know about something. It's okay
Yeah.
if you don't, but like, now that you know about it, make that boundary, make that thought, make that idea, make, whatever it is, to move forward and continue to progress positively.
Exactly. And that's something that like and this is a completely personal thought, because I don't think that I think that there are some people that should have very strict boundaries for them, But for me,
Mhm.
I've learned that I operate best whenever I make my boundaries more fluid, Like if I set a boundary that like initiates respect, right? Like I want you to respect me whenever I do these things or whenever I need this and when I need that, right? But then I allow that boundary to kind of move around as I progress as a human. Because the things that are important to me now are not going to be important to me 2 years from now when it comes to boundary setting and like free time and personal time, things like that. Just like the things that are going to be important to me 2 years from now I may not even think of right now. And 2 years from now, I could be in a blossoming, beautiful relationship and whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then I have certain boundaries that I have to incorporate into my life based around my relationship. Right now I'm single and I've been single for years. So
Mhm.
there's no real way to know, are the boundaries that you have today going to be important to you tomorrow, you know? So just having that mindset of this is important to me right now in this moment, it may not be later on. And
Oh
keeping
yeah.
that in mind helps me just sort of like almost give myself permission to change my own boundaries whenever I need to, Like if there's a time where it's convenient for me to have a more open and more fluid boundary, I can change it and I can revisit it.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Revisiting boundaries is also very important, and you should never like cage yourself so much that you don't have any
Yeah.
fun or any excuse to live at that point. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. So Gabby, when is a good time to set a boundary?
Anytime.
I like that. That was good.
Anytime.
That was good.
No, anytime. There's no right or wrong time to set a boundary. I think we all have free will. We all have the means to change. We all have the means to think differently at any time.
Yeah.
But you need to do it in a way where if you are going to you're going to make a boundary, it needs to be in a respectful way. It needs to be in a way that is going to be perceived to the other party that is going to receive that boundary.
Hmm.
And if it's a boundary for yourself, make sure it's a legit boundary and it's something that you can actually
Uphold.
attain and
Yeah.
uphold. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, don't make it to the point where it's unrealistic. Like, I'm not going to
Hmm.
sit here and say, okay, today I'm going to drop 500 pounds. Like, why would that make any
You're
sense?
like, I don't
Right?
even weigh 500 pounds. Like, how do I do that?
No,
Like,
no. But like in reality, that's an
yeah.
like, it's not going to happen. Like, and
Yeah.
it's okay. But like, don't feel so pressured to where you don't, get a chance to just be you. And if you
Yeah.
need to make a boundary, just be like, hey, this makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. I
Hey,
think,
I don't love this.
yeah, definitely. And I think that times that are good for me to set boundaries is whenever my life is starting to feel chaotic and crazy and I feel like I don't have control. I usually then resort to setting boundaries. And I may do that with people in my life. I may do that with myself, with my work. And that's, like say that I have somebody that, is requiring a lot of attention. And
Yeah.
I care about them and I want to give them attention. And I know that it's a time in their life where they need attention. I may, in a very kind way, say, hey, I understand you have this going on and I want to be here for you. But I also have these things that are on my plate right now that I also need to pay attention to. So I'm going to ask that, if you know that I'm working on this at this moment, if you're able to wait until after I'm done before you require attention. And I may not say require attention because that can come across as very, like rude and finger pointy and things like that. And that's not what I want. I'm just saying require attention now because that's the basics of what it is. Like you need my attention. And right now I need to put my attention in other places. So if you'll wait until I'm done with these situations, I can get them done. And then you'll have my undivided attention. And that's one place. Another place would be like when like what if I'm not comfortable with something, or if the bounds of how comfortable I am in a situation is starting to waver. And so like an example of that I do a lot is whenever I'm meeting new guys and I'm like meeting guys like that I might be romantically interested in. I typically like to take things slow, and something that I've seen in the gay community is that men here don't really get that. Like, you know, and so that's something that I actually talked about with Kiera on an episode of last season, like dating in adulthood, where it's like there's these expectations that come with being a gay man, specifically in the South too. And I think that it's probably because like traditionally we've had to go so long without like having access to a lot of different gay people, and also without having access to like the same rights as people. And we still, I mean, gay people are still threatened all the time and like killed for being gay and things like that. And so and still threatened with having our rights taken away and stuff like that. So I think there it like puts on this like feeling of needing to hurry, and this
Right.
feeling of like running out of time. And so a lot of gay people want to rush, and I'm not like that. I like to take my time. I want to make sure that if we're spending the rest of our life together, that I know you, you know, that I like know you, that, you know, like why, if we're going to spend forever together, why would I worry about this next few months? You know, like we should take our time and really get to know each other and understand each other. And that's a very strong boundary for me. Like I have certain steps that it's like, I want to chat with you for a little bit, like for at least a week or two before we decide we want to go on a date, because I want to know the person on the other side of the phone is a real person, that I'm not showing up to be hate crimed or to be murdered or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And I want to know, I'd love to Snapchat too, because like a lot of people will catfish. And without like, and I say catfish as a very dramatic way, but people like will take unrealistic pictures of themselves and present that to you, you know, and things like that. And I've had that happen a lot, where people will lie about their height and take pictures as if they're a lot taller or a lot shorter than what they really are. And then you
Yeah.
show up and it's not what you expected. And those are very small things that don't bother me as much now that I'm older, but that is something that was very jarring to me whenever I was younger, because it's like I mentally prepared for one thing and then showed up and was not given what I mentally prepared for. So
Sure.
yeah.
It's deceiving.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, boundaries are everywhere. Boundaries are literally just all over the place within our lives, and I just would hate for people to deceive those or mess those up. But also having that flexibility is really great. And
Mm-hmm.
that's on boundaries, period.
Boundaries. Yeah. So Gabby, I guess the
Period.
last thing that we should probably talk about is like, how do you set a boundary?
Yeah, I mean, again, full force communication. Hey, like this makes me uncomfortable. Hey, I have this time commitment, Hey, I don't feel comfortable when you tell me that this A, B, C, D, E. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a more of an in-person person. But I know some people aren't. So even just being like, hey, can we just FaceTime real quick? Or like, hey, can we just have a quick phone call? So
Mm-hmm.
they hear your tone. So you don't feel like they're being targeted.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways that could go wrong. So it's just easier to go, hey, Sam, like I have this really big time commitment. Is there any way we can move it? And
Yeah.
it's not threatening and it's
Yeah.
okay. But if
Yeah.
you're going to be like, so you're an ass, I don't like you, like that's not going to help anything go.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think that and maybe we should even talk about this at a different point, because this is something that I thought about too, like in a different episode. Maybe we should do something about this, because there are like healthy ways to do something, and there are like textbook healthy ways to do something, and there are textbook unhealthy ways to do something. But an unhealthy person, like a toxic person, an abuser or something, can do something healthy to continue being unhealthy. Like
Yeah.
you can have an abuser, a manipulator, someone like that who is gaslighting their significant other, set a boundary that is vindictive and toxic and mean. And it's like, but they will use words like, well, this is just me setting a boundary. This is just me trying to like communicate with you clearly. Like this makes me uncomfortable when you do this. And it's just a ploy to make them feel guilty and make them feel like they're being, like the significant other is being unhealthy. So you really have to watch yourself. And that's why I said like, you have to be very self-reflective and just make sure that the reason why you're wanting that boundary isn't something that you should be healing or growing from. You know, it should be, maybe it's something that you're holding a really strong standard that past you needed, but present you doesn't really need anymore because you've grown from it, you know? And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's on boundaries, like you
And
said.
that's on boundaries,
Boundaries.
period. Her.
Oh my God.
Anyways, my friend says that a lot. She'll probably be on a later episode, but she's super fun. I love
Nice.
her.
Love it.
But yeah, so that's our take on boundaries and what we think how to structure them, how we cope with them, how we are flexible or not flexible with them. So we hope we just take a little bit from that. But we love you guys.
We love you guys. And thank you so much for listening to another episode of Enhance, season 2. And we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Enhance Podcast. I am Sam, one of your hosts.
And I'm your other host, Gabby Sabai.
If you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SamDifYouDo.
You can find me on TikTok at GabbyS80 and on Instagram at GSABAT97.
And if you want to follow the podcast, you can find us on Instagram and on Facebook at enhance.productions.publishing.
And check us out on our website at enhance.productions.
Enhance your peace
Your joy.
and your existence.